Look at the weather.
It's beautiful here.
Non-stop rain.
Oh, man, it is a blazer out there.
It's cold and it's shivery.
It is cold.
Really coming down here.
I really enjoy your weather reports.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, we're talking weather in a whole new way. From historical events to what's coming up, plus weather news, science, safety, fun facts, and more.
I like where this is going.
This is Weather Weekly. Weather Weekly with Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey.
Welcome back, episode number 35 of Weather Weekly. Good to be with you here on this second week of October. I'm meteorologist Marcus Bailey with Wish TV in Indianapolis. This will be a quick one here today, both with kind of the weather headlines and the subject matter, which we'll be talking about fall foliage, which we have really kind of yet to see here in central Indiana, but it is around the corner. I did want to hit up on some quick weather headlines. First, locally, man, what a warm start to the month of October. This past weekend, we almost set records both Saturday and Sunday. We had highs in the low and mid 80s, 84 and 82 respectively for Saturday and Sunday in Indianapolis. The records were in the upper 80s, so they still hold strong. But boy, we made a pretty good run. So as we're recording this here on the 11th, it's a Monday, through 10 days, it is the sixth warmest start to the month of October with an average temperature of 69.2. Now, those temperatures will come down a little bit. I think we're going to have kind of a mild stretch in the midweek, but we do have some hints of fall coming our way, which we'll talk about in the forecast at the end of this podcast. Severe weather over the weekend in the Central Plains, and that's brought some thunderstorms to central Indiana Monday night into Tuesday. And again, obviously we're recording this pre-storms across our area, but as of the recording, there was a chance for some severe storms. We'll wait and see if that holds true. But same system that did bring some possible tornadoes to parts of Oklahoma, where a high school and several homes were damaged in the city of Crowetta, Oklahoma. There was also some hail damage in some storefronts and cars in Norman, Oklahoma. The good news is there were no injuries or deaths reported. It's been a very quiet, just stretch of weather in terms of severe weather across the Central Plains. So we've been very fortunate, but some pretty nasty storms that rolled through the plains Sunday night, and that system is continuing to churn up. Now going through the Midwest. Wildfires continue to be a big problem out in Central California. They're getting some containment there, but obviously this is their wildfire season. So there could be some power outages as a result with some of those wildfires going on in Sacramento, kind of in the crosshairs of that. A lot of the wildfires are well north of, say, Los Angeles, well east of San Francisco, east of Sacramento, closer to the Redding area in northern parts of California. So we'll keep an eye on that, but they're not going to get any favorable weather conditions to really help things out. Very dry air and some gusty winds between 25 and 35 miles per hour is going to make fighting those fires extremely difficult here over the this week at least. Now, just far to the east of that, some pretty big snows. Yeah, snows into the higher elevations across the Rockies. There could be some areas that pick up half a foot to a foot of snow in some of the high elevations. Getting that time of year as there's cooler air. I mean, you have to think of kind of our weather pattern in the lower 48 states, kind of like a seesaw. And where we're tapping into some very warm air, they're getting some very chilly air. And there's some places even in northern Arizona where they could be talking about highs only in the 30s and lows into the teens. So obviously some brutally cold air, early season snow for the Rockies, and we are on the warm end of things. So we'll keep an eye on that, but it does appear that there's going to be some places could see, like Park City, Utah, hosted the Olympics not that long ago. 5 to 8 inches of snowfall. Some higher elevation areas in southern Montana and northern Wyoming could see 12 to 18 inches of snowfall. Places like Casper, Wyoming, maybe 8 to 12 inches of snow. Aspen, Colorado, around 1 to 3. So some early season snowfall heading that direction. That's kind of a peek on what's happening nationally, internationally, and really the only thing that we look at kind of this time of year is to the tropics, which as of recently has been fairly quiet. Hopefully it stays that way. We do have a couple of systems in the Atlantic that have a very, very small chance of becoming some sort of tropical or cyclonic formation just north of South America and kind of hovering around the Lesser Antilles there. We'll keep an eye on that. Not much brewing in the central Pacific. There is Pamela right now in the eastern Pacific. It's off the coast of Mexico, western coast of Mexico, and is anticipated to stay as a tropical storm and likely making landfall. Actually, could become a major hurricane by midweek, by Wednesday, and making landfall just south of Baja California on the west coast of Mexico. So that's going to be something worth watching. That could be a major hurricane and eventually kind of feeds through northern Mexico, could impact portions of south central Texas along the Rio Grande by late in the week on Thursday. So we'll keep you updated on that. That's a look at your weather headlines here for the second week of October. Coming up, as we are now gearing up for that time of season, and it is weather related, we're going to talk about fall foliage and why we see some of the beautiful and vibrant colors across not just central Indiana, but really across much of the country. Why does it happen? When does it happen? And what are some of the variables on what makes for some good fall colors? That's coming up next here on Weather Weekly.
Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Welcome back, episode number 35 here. And so we're in the middle of October, and we're really just about a week or two out from our traditional kind of peak season for fall foliage, for the beautiful colors around central Indiana. So there is a good website if you want to kind of check it out. If you look up Smoky Mountain fall foliage, it's really the best map that I have found if you're just kind of perusing the internet on when any part of the country is currently dealing with fall foliage. And it is interactive, so you can kind of zoom around. Maybe if you're planning a trip, you want to head up to New England, Vermont. I know usually is a very beautiful place to go check out some of the colors. But it will also kind of give you a timeline of when we will typically see our peak fall foliage as well. Now, I'm trying to pull it up on my web browser right now. It's not pulling up, but trust me, it is. If you get a chance, check it out. It's pretty good. But it usually has us squarely in the mid-October to late October range. For central Indiana, it's about a week earlier than that in northern Indiana, and a little bit later once you get along and south of the Ohio River, where it gets a little more hilly. And I know some people like to sneak down. Brown County obviously is a super popular place to go here in our central portions of our state, because it's so wide open in that park, and you get a lot of good views with some beautiful colors. And Nashville's a neat little town. I remember spending a lot of fall weekends there growing up. So, but the big question is, and I always found this fascinating, and I get asked about it a lot, because it really differs from year to year on the changing of colors, and why does it take place, and what can kind of dictate the different types of colors. What's going to make a fall a little more vibrant than others? So you got to kind of go back to your middle school, or maybe it's elementary school. I feel like it was middle school for us. You have to kind of go back to your middle school days of biology, where the map just popped up for me. So let me finish my thought here, and then we'll go back to the map. But you have to go back to kind of your biology classes and talk about chlorophyll. Okay? So chlorophyll is the food that feeds plants, right? And chlorophyll is what is the driving force that makes plants green. And so we know that how chlorophyll works is it feeds off sunlight, and the plant is able to produce this chlorophyll, and that's where you get the green coloring from, right? So a few things happen that allow for this, but the one guarantee that always will happen, especially anywhere in the U.S., right, is that our days get shorter. So the amount of sunlight that these trees are receiving, these leaves are receiving, is getting less and less as we get deeper into fall. So naturally, not weather dependent, not rain or lack thereof, or temperature range, whether it be warm or cold, which can all play a role in some of the colors we get. But the guarantee is we are always going to get shorter and shorter days as we go through the fall, and that will naturally change the color of leaves. Okay? You can take temperatures out of it completely. So once we kind of get deeper into October, our days are getting much, much shorter. Your daylight is just not there. Plus, you kind of get in, when you're in October, you kind of get gloomier days too. So maybe you're not producing as much sunshine as you typically would see. Okay? So that's what kind of is creating that. The process is called photosynthesis. If you remember back to your biology classes. Now, before I kind of carry on, before I forget, I want to get back to this map. So as I'm recording this, again, it's on Monday the 11th. Right now, and this is true, I'm going to skip ahead to the 4th. We should be seeing patchy. And actually, I'm going to move it to the 11th. I just realized that they're 11th. So we should be seeing partial, and northern Indiana should be near peak. That is not the case, at least in central Indiana. I'm not sure where we're at in terms of northern Indiana, but I don't think we're really that far ahead. And a big reason why is we have been extremely, extremely warm. Yes, the days are getting shorter, but sometimes you get the assistance of some cooler temperatures, especially in the evening and overnights, right? It just hasn't been there. So, we're still getting that chlorophyll producing, and we're getting, the green pigments here. So you get basically, if you want to look at, again, I'm kind of going through the Smoky Mountain website. It does a good job of kind of explaining what I'm going through here. So chlorophyll is not the only thing that will change the color. Present in other leaves and trees are the compounds known as carotenoids and anthocyanins. As the fall days begin to get shorter and shorter, the production of chlorophyll slows to a halt. Eventually, it gives way to the true color of the leaf. Okay? So you've got some of these that are oranges, beta carotene. You have the reds, which are anthocyanins, and yellows, which are flavanols, okay? So these all start to kind of show up once we get done with the chlorophyll. But you have to also realizing, too, that while they are kind of showing out these natural colors, you're also witnessing, when you are seeing the fall foliage, it's basically the death of these leaves, right? They're not getting the nutrients that they need to carry on. And so with the combination of the loss of light and the cooling of temperatures, these leaves start to slowly die off, and then they eventually fall. And that's when we get to rake. But again, there's a lot of factors that play into that. Now, you think about some years past and where we stand right now, where, I'm looking out the window and it's not just the leaves, the grass. It's as green as it was in the spring, pretty much. I did notice some hints of color, So I think we're getting to the point where photosynthesis is maybe slowing down just a little bit. So we're seeing maybe a little bit of yellow hints in some of the trees, but overall we are still seeing a ton of green. Big reason for that is because we are still so warm. We have not had any nights as of late where we've even flirted with frosty conditions. And typically, and I mentioned this in our last podcast, when we looked ahead to the month of October, by middle of the month, we usually have our average first frost. So we haven't even been close to that, nor do I anticipate that when we get to the forecast here after the break. So, that plays a little bit of a role into it. I think something else that's interesting, and look, this may change now that we start to, eventually, the bottom's going to drop out and we're going to turn cooler and we're going to have some of these chillier nights where it's really going to help into aiding the coloring of the trees here, or the leaves, I should say. The winds have been minimal. I was a little breezy over the weekend, but certainly not strong enough to knock down a lot of the leaves. I admit it here that I love to golf. And this time of year, I really love to golf because of the temperature. What I do hate about it is it's so hard to find your ball. Well, one, because if you're a bad golfer like me, it's hard to find the ball anyway. But two, because you have so many leaves on the ground. Even when you do hit a good shot, sometimes it's hard to find because you have so many leaves that are falling down. That wasn't the case. I went out with some coworkers on Saturday, and like I said, it was like golfing in the spring. The leaves were still in full force. There was minimal debris on the golf course in terms of leaves falling down. Not much. So, again, I think you've got a lot of factors in play there. One, you have been very warm. You haven't been real windy. We've had a decent amount of rain, especially as of late. So we haven't had those leaves drying up and been easy to knock off if it has been windy on some days like we were this weekend. It was a bit breezy. I would venture to guess if we would have been as dry as we had been prior in many Septembers prior, that you probably would have seen some of those leaves falling down. In the same, conversation, we haven't been overly wet because that also isn't good. If you're overly wet, and that's going to help kind of you have to kind of hit the sweet spot here. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. We've been in this sweet spot to where everything is just staying green a little bit longer. So does that mean that we're going to be in good shape? Tough to tell. You kind of hope that, and we say this all the time, you don't want to go from summer to winter. But the longer this goes on, that's what's going to happen. Because we knew there is a guarantee. We're going to get cold at some point. We're going to see temperatures dip below freezing at some point. It could happen gradually, or it could happen very, very quickly. And obviously, the lack of sunshine is going to aid in some of these. And so you may get some duller colors, but, hopefully we'll get some assistance with maybe some gradual cooling temperatures that will get more of these vibrant colors across our area. So I know this is kind of a brief podcast, but that's kind of how it plays out here. But we'll keep an eye on it. Again, basically next week and the week after are our peak seasons here in the month of October for fall foliage. But it does seem like maybe it's getting a little bit later. And some of that may be due to some warming temperatures. So we will wait and see, and we'll see where we stand, but we'll continue to give you updates on the fall report here as we kind of roll through the next couple of weeks and as we gear up toward the end of fall and looking ahead to winter, which, by the way, if you are a fall lover, I think you're going to like the forecast here for the end of this week, the second week of October. I'm looking forward to it because I do love some fall temperatures and getting out the hoodies and maybe starting to fire up some chili. It's that time of year, right? We'll have that forecast for you coming up next here on Weather Weekly. Here's a look at your forecast for this second week of October. And again, we started off very warm, highs in the 80s by the end of the weekend and then Monday. And even now through the midweek, we're probably going to hold into the mid-70s. Now, we do have another shot for rain. It looks like both Thursday and Friday. That's going to usher in some more significant changes here, where we'll have highs in the upper 70s for Thursday with a chance of rain. I think we struggle to get to 70 with some showers on Friday. And then for those of you that have been really wanting some fall-like temperatures, we finally kind of get into that hoodie type weather is what I call it, right? Starting this weekend, and I do think it's going to be quiet for the weekend. Saturday's highs in the mid-60s, Sunday's highs in the lower 60s, and we'll bounce back to the mid-60s by Monday of next week. So if you're like me and you love fall weather, I think this is the forecast for you. It's been taking a while to finally get some cooler temperatures, but it does appear that we're going to be heading at that direction. However, 6 to 10 day outlook still calling for above average temperatures, especially for the northern part of the state. It does appear to be dry with a good shot for below average precipitation, and the 8 to 14 day outlook, which will take us basically to the middle of the month, to October 24th. Good shot for above average temperatures and a real good shot for below average precipitation. So it looks like we are going to continue with warm and dry conditions. The 3 to 4 week outlook, which would take us to Halloween, looks to be above average with equal chance for kind of normal precipitation. And no major changes here for the monthly outlook. Again, above average for much of October and above average or equal chances, I should say, for precipitation. It could either go above or below. And if you kind of choose with the next couple of weeks, it looks like we're going to be below. So that means we'd have to make up for lost time on the kind of the last week of October, which obviously is remains to be seen. We're still a ways out, but certainly going to start feeling a little bit more like fall by the next time we talk on next week's podcast, which we hope to have you along with us for episode number, 36. It'll be episode number 36. This is 35. So we're moving right along, and we appreciate you following along with us here on all, or maybe just some of these episodes. We'd love to hear your feedback on what you'd like to hear on the podcast. Email me anytime, marcus.bailey@wishtv.com, marcus.bailey@wishtv.com. You can hit me up on social media as well. Facebook, it's Marcus Bailey Weather, all one word. And on the Twitter and Instagram, it is @Marcus Bailey, and you can message me there, and we'd love to start a dialogue with you and maybe get going on what you'd like to hear on the podcast. While you're here, make sure you check out all the other great podcasts, all part of the All Indiana Podcast Network. We'll talk to you next week.
Discover more from Storm Track 8 Weather and Wish TV. Online at wishtv.com, and when you follow Wish TV on Facebook. Plus, be sure to check out more great podcasts from the All Indiana Podcast Network now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.